Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to New York Images and Voices. I'm your host, Jim Carter, and every Wednesday morning at 8 a.m., Channel 56, Manhattan Neighborhood Network, we look to bring you interesting people, interesting topics, and things you'll learn from and enjoy. We're an Ophelia DeVore program, and over the last 65 years, it's been Ophelia DeVore's goal to bring you uplifting information, grooming, etiquette, self-esteem, confidence, things that work to your betterment, whether it's in relationships, in a job interview, or in the job. So we look forward to seeing you every Wednesday morning, so join us. This morning we're very, very fortunate to have a guest from, I guess you could say, over the pond. Our guest is Elizabeth Green. Good morning, Elizabeth.
Good morning.
And Elizabeth is from London originally. Mm-hmm. Now, is it London, or do we Americans make everything from England London?
No, I'm actually from London.
Okay, well, I like the accent too. I tried a British accent one time. Nobody believed it. They told me I sounded more like a Southerner. So, Elizabeth, how did you get to America? And I don't mean by plane or boat.
No,
I mean, what kind of brought you to America when you came years ago?
This particular love affair with America started in 2009. Really, my then daughter-in-law-to-be came for a year to work in the theatre here. And I came to visit her a couple of times, and I just recently got divorced. And I liked it here, and I thought, oh, you know what? I might try and stay. I had another slight motivating factor. I'd been writing a dating column in a small newspaper in England, and I thought, oh, well, maybe I could pick up a few dates here and write about them. So those two things motivated me. So I met somebody on a date and hung out with him on and off for a couple of years. And he helped me get an apartment. And the rest, as they say, is history.
So now, was 2009 your first visit to America?
No. I came in 2007 with a friend, and then I'd been here. I was here in 1982. My ex-husband ran the New York Marathon. Mm-hmm. I've got pictures of the Twin Towers, plus all the runners in their tinfoil sheets.
Their running gear,
yeah. And the tinfoil sheets they give them at the end when they've run and exerted themselves. Uh-huh. Yes, so...
So you've had this ongoing exposure to America for a number of years. Now, do you travel back and forth, or do you spend more time one place?
No, visa-wise, I have to spend as much time out as I spend in. So I spend 3 months here and 3 months back and 3 months there.
What do you find to be some of the main differences between England and America, just from your exposure, the likes and the dislikes?
For me, I probably like all the things that most English people hate about America. I like when you go in a store and somebody says, how are you doing, and have a good day. English people are like, oh, it's so phony. I don't care. It's nice, it makes me feel related. And also, there's no such thing as outspoken here. People in England used to find me loud and aggressive and in their faces. I've never been told that here yet. So that's
so there's kind of a greater comfort level, a looseness.
Yeah.
That's America. Well, when we see England and the Queen and the formality, some of that is part of America too. How did you view the presidential coronation? Did you see that similar to England?
What do you mean, the presidential?
Well, when Obama was coronated for the second time.
Oh, well, I tell you what, I was here in the run-up to the election, and I found it riveting, and I watched all the debates. I thought it was fantastic. I really liked it, and I was really in there and involved.
Do you find we handle some of the political pieces similar to England?
Oh, God, that's a leading. I mean, a politician is a politician is a politician. They've all got their faults and their idiosyncrasies and their stuff they don't do well. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, I guess the answer, a politician is a politician, a duck is a duck. So, well, we're going to talk a little bit more about the dating column you were writing, but as we look at some of the similarities and some of the differences, you and I talked a little before coming on air about the press, the difference in the press in England, difference in the press in America. Just talk a little bit about that, because you being a journalist, you see it from an objective and a subjective eye, don't you?
Well, a minor journalist, but my son is a journalist, and he works for a well-known newspaper in England, The Guardian. Me personally, I think newspapers are much more prevalent. They're much more out there. I don't see people on the subway reading, unless they're reading Metro, the free newspaper, which we have as well. So I think the press is much more influential in England and scurrilous and full of gossip. I mean, the paper Murdoch's paper that got closed down, the News of the World, you know, everybody used to read that on Sunday to see who's doing what to who and who's cheating on who, and that was your entertainment on a Sunday. So what was the differences in the press?
I think with the internet coming into play and mobile phones, there was a time where if you got on a subway or a bus here in New York, people were all reading newspapers. So I think some of the electronic age has made a difference here. You don't think it's had that same impact in England?
Yeah, it is. It has, because my son says eventually there aren't going to be newspapers because you can get the newspaper online, so why would you walk around carrying a newspaper?
Getting newsprint on your finger.
Exactly. So that's going to happen.
But you still think England is more involved with actual newspapers than you see in America? Or is it the stories they're more involved with?
I think newspapers are possibly, I see them as more important in England than here. I don't ever read a newspaper here. I wouldn't even buy one. I mean, I've tried the New York Times and it's all adverts and advertising and sport and stuff, and there's not much reading to read. And there's so much news coverage on TV. You could watch news morning, noon and night. So and
with the advent of cable news, Fox News talking about England, talking about Murdoch.
Yeah, but who's going to believe anything they see on Fox?
Well, that's
even I learned that, and I'm not American.
I don't want to be too political, but I agree with Elizabeth. But are the politics in England as abstract as they are here in America? When I say abstract, we have the righteous right and the liberal left. Do we have that in England?
I was just going to answer. We've got this wonderful section in called Middle England, and it's all the old ladies with their twin sets and pearls who knit, and they get outraged at the least thing. There was something, one of our chat show hosts did something bad on TV, and all the Middle England ladies were up in arms and complaining, and oh my God. We used to have this woman called Mary Whitehouse back in the 60s, 70s, and she used to complain all the time about everything that was on TV. She was like a caricature, she was ridiculed, but she had quite a voice. So yes, there's Middle England, who are very set in their ways, I suppose the equivalent of your rednecks.
Well, Elizabeth, is that honest outrage, or are people just presenting a front where they want others to perceive them in a certain way?
It's a very class-ridden society in England. That's I think one of the main differences from here. So yes, there are pockets of people. We have a department store called Marks and Spencer's, and they changed the way their knickers were made or silent. Like 70% of women in England buy their panties, you call them here, knickers, in Marks and Spencer's. They changed something. The women were up in arms. They went to the shareholders meetings, you know, and they probably had a small, tiny, weeny amount of shares, were up in arms protesting and saying how they didn't like it. So yeah, they have quite a voice.
Well, you say the class situation in England. In America, it's the racial situation. Do you find a similarity between the class separation and the racial separation?
Oh my God. The only thing I'd say about racial thing is, I think, for me, I may be way off beam, I think black people are more, they've got more of a voice here, or they're more seen, they're more in the limelight. I mean, where I live in England, I live about a mile from where all those riots were about a couple of summers ago. And I'm in the sort of middle class, nice enclave end of the borough, the area, and a mile down the road they're all burning buildings and running around with guns and all that stuff. So it's just a very strange mixed.
Yeah, well, we have those pockets here in America also. Sure. You can be 10 blocks away from upheaval and you can feel comfortable and warm in your own environment. I think some of the things we see with the issues right now with gun control and, you know, the different political battles that are taking place are part of that too. They're part culture, they're part class, and they're part race. But we're here to talk about...
Well, I was going to say that leads us beautifully into that, because a lot of the stuff that goes on there is about self-esteem. People don't feel good about themselves, they don't like themselves, and sometimes picking up a gun makes them feel bigger than they are, makes them feel more important than they are. And that's, people don't feel heard, they don't feel important, they don't feel they matter. That's what I think.
Well, you come from a family that does matter, though, don't you? Does that give you a different level of self-esteem, a different level of confidence? Yes and no. I mean, I think we're talking about my illustrious brother, but I think I have some of his qualities. Sir Philip Green. Sir Philip
Green, I know. Mm-hmm. I know you Americans find that so cute, because they do actually kneel down in front of the Queen, and she does actually dub him with a sword. Sure. Yeah. What was it called?
Well, just having come from a family where you've had a support network and different types of...
I know what I want to say. I don't think it makes any difference at the end of the day. You know, you can be unhappy and poor, you can be unhappy and rich, and the only difference is you're going to eat nicer food, but you're still going to be upset and unhappy and lonely and on your own. That's what I think.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, in the Ophir DeVore world on Newark Images and Voices, we want happy and rich. We want to go with that. That's why we have Elizabeth here with us today. We're going to talk about the habits of the heart, because people think money alone is going to make them happy, but we're going to talk about the habits of the heart. It's a program that addresses some of your background in terms of writing a dating column and relationships and personal experience. So let's start off slowly. Let's tell the audience a little bit about the habits of the heart and how you came about being involved with the program.
I was just going to say, me and J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez, we're a stand for love.
Well, I'm all for love.
I read
okay.
that's what she said, and I'm a stand for that as well. The Habits of the Heart was actually put together by a man called Lou Epstein. He died 10 years ago, so it was a little around that time. And I met him in England years before that. They had these men's clubs and women's clubs. The women were thrilled the men had a club, because the men definitely need to talk about stuff, whereas us women do that all the time. And what it was there'd be 20, 30 men, and they'd meet once a month. And it would be creating a safe space, if that makes sense. So if you told me something was up with you and you weren't happy with your wife, or there'd been an upset, as another man, my job wasn't to go, oh my God, I know what that feels like. Oh, you poor thing, let me tell you what to do. It was just to listen. And through the listening and people feeling safe, especially the guys, and being able to say how it was for them and what went on, and having the experience that somebody went, oh my God, that happened to me. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, how awful. Just being heard, Louis discovered, made a huge difference to people. So he put this program together, but then he died in 2003, and I actually went over to San Francisco with my then husband. We went to his memorial, and what actually happened, we were sitting with his widow in having brunch before we got on the plane, and I said, Mrs. Fix-It-Me, is there anything I can do for you, Francine? And she said, yes, would you like to put this course on? So I went, sure, and all the way back on the plane I was going, oh, you idiot, what have you done? But in fact, it's good I mentioned the men's and women's clubs, because the first course I put on was all the people from the men's and women's club. So we had about 30 people there, and we did the course. And because they'd been in the clubs, they were a little more schooled in what was going on. And basically, there's 10 practices for communication, and we practiced the practices.
So ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you a little bit about the overview of habits of the heart. Fulfilling the dream of relating. And just keep in mind when you hear these different words, consider the quality of being related is a direct function of recurrent, often unconscious patterns of behavior that are acquired through frequent repetition, commonly called habits. That's a lot, but Elizabeth's going to tell us what that all means. As you know, habits can be changed. The site for Habits of the Heart offers 3 proven options to develop what we call the habits of the heart that will fulfill on your desire, longing, dream, wish, prayer, hope, yearning for living fulfilled relationships with all people in your life. Boy, Elizabeth, that's going to do a lot for them, isn't it?
It is actually a fantastic course, and when I used to put it on in London, I was like the enrollment manager, and I actually used to say to people, on Friday night and Saturday we open you up and do open heart surgery, and on Sunday we sew you back together.
And I think that's important too, because as we talk these words, it's not just a concept, it's an activity of creating the feeling, the emotion, and helping people come to terms with why we feel the way we do and what we can do for that change.
This is experiential, this course. When you see people on a Friday night, we do a Friday night, Saturday day, Sunday day. When you see people on a Friday night, they're scared and they don't know what they're getting into. And on Sunday night, I promise you, their faces look different. They open up. They've had the experience, as the lady Rita Reno who runs the course says, even if they take it away and they never do anything with it, they were there, they heard it. As she has this wonderful expression, you can't unring the bell. Mm-hmm. So they were there, they heard it, and it'll pop up for them in the most strange situation. They go, oh, they said that in the course, that's what happened. Because what's going on is we're looking for our validation and we're looking there and we should be looking here. That's what's going on. And I completely did that for most of my life. I've worked very hard in the last year or two with Rita, she's been my coach, getting this stuff, because your mind will send you everywhere. Do you know what we operate from our minds, we operate from our heads, so we're our judgments, we're our opinions, we think we know everything, we like people, we don't like people. If you're in your heart, it's a totally different experience, because what's happening is you're just being there and you're open to what's coming. Of course you're not going to like everybody and everything, but you're not going to react and behave in that way that I, for one, had become accustomed to.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, you can get all this information on the internet, and Elizabeth, you want to give them the location where they can go to get the information, because we'll be sure to put it on the screen also, but we'd like you to tell them where can they go.
Well, on the internet it's on www.thehabitsoftheheart.com, and what I'm hoping is to put a course on. I used to put courses on in London, and I'd like to put a course on in New York.
Now when you say put a course on, and we're going to go through some more detail, and you know, I'm thinking, Elizabeth, this might require 2 shows. We're not going to be able to get all this in on one show. And I can feel the life coming up as you talk about this now, and the enthusiasm and the excitement you have about it. So when you say put on the course, how do you actually put on the course?
You get a room in a hotel or in a church hall, or you need a venue, and we have a circle of chairs. And as I say, we run on a Friday night from 7 till 11, and then Saturday 9 till 6, and Sunday 9 till 6, with breaks obviously, and a lunch break. And there's a format, and we go through the format.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it's not just a conversation, it's a relationship.
It's a relationship.
Environment that takes time. But Elizabeth, I know I'm just moving forward, but we have some options how to develop the habits of the heart, don't we? And the way the program is structured, I've been looking at the different options and how they're developed. So can we go through the options one by one?
Go on.
Okay, well, let's start with option 1. Listen to, practice, and apply the 10 habits of the heart recordings on the site. Now, these are available to everybody, aren't they?
Absolutely.
So they don't have to come, but the interchange in person really solidifies what they'll hear. So talk about listening and how it develops the habits of the heart. And can we talk through some of those? I think there are 10 steps, aren't there?
Yes, the first 5 are probably the most important. God, you asked me 3 questions in one there, right.
And I bet you'll give me 3 answers too. Okay.
I'll try. In the course, it's interesting because for some people, being in public or speaking in public is scary, scary. In the course, especially when you have a good number, 25, 30 people, and we can do up to 50 people, you may hear somebody talk about the thing that is your thing that you feel is holding you back. So you don't need to speak, but being there in the course, you get to hear other people's experience, and you don't get to feel isolated, alone, stuck. And you have the experience of what it's like falling in love. I'm using it in the loosest. Falling in love with people. By the end of the weekend, people you just feel open, you feel close. You may close right down again the next day, or it may last for a week, who knows. But you've had that experience.
So you get over some of that inhibition that it's just you. You realize it's a bigger conversation situation for everybody.
Well, you know, it's fantastic. You know how you go into a situation and I don't know if you are, I am still, you're afraid. Guess what? So is everybody.
Sure.
Everybody's having the same thing as you, but we're so focused on, well, I can't do this, and I can do this, and I feel this way. So we think we're the only person in that situation. So these are very good, these habits. I don't know if you've never done the course, what it's like listening to them, but it's sure useful. You will hear something in there. You know, you'll zone in and out, and sometimes your mind will go, I'm not ready to hear that, I can't listen to that. You will hear something in there for you.
Well, also in the group coaching, it helps us walk through this process. Doing these things alone can be very intimidating also. Now, you talk about 2 types of love, correct?
Go on.
What are the 2 types? I'm looking at some of your notes over here.
Okay.
Red,
all right. Well, I can give you the short version. I mean, it's very interesting. We have a piece we use in the course. We talk about Blue River love and Red River love.
Now, Blue River love.
And we do a piece of work on that, in fact, for people to identify it. And Blue River is just, listen, I'll give you an example. I have man in my life at the moment. This is perfect. Last night, and we're related. We're really related. We're good. We're flat. We're good. And he didn't call me last night. And I called Rita and I said, I know it's completely fine to phone him, but my mind is going, well, I'm a woman and I should play a little bit hard to get, and I should wait till he phones me because then I'll know he really wants to. And we laughed about it because I'm not in that scenario with this guy. So, and I said to her, and I should be patient, and I should be able to be patient, and I know I'm not. So she said, you have a choice. Either practice your patience or call him. So I called him. And it was fine, but your mind tells you, so that is the Blue River. You know, relationships should look a certain way. Women should play hard to get, and the little
where did this habit come from? Who created this feeling, this habit that we're caught in, this Blue River?
Well, there's
love?
all these kind of data. It's everywhere. My favorite is all the what are the song titles? All those cheesy, you're nobody till somebody loves you. Can't live if living is without you. Anymore. I mean, you know.
Oh, sure, there are a lot more. Yeah.
You are my destiny. Because I was just listening to Paul Anka. That stuff, you know, all the movies you see. Pretty Woman. He gets the girl in the end.
Who wrote these? Men or women? Do you think?
A mixture. So, I don't think it's particularly.
So you think we've conditioned both feel this way?
There's some. I don't know, there's some feeling we're not entitled to love, or it's very hard to come by. But as I said, we're looking out there. And I didn't like myself for a long time. I didn't think I was gorgeous or attractive. I just didn't think I was up to scratch. And when I started to discover that I was actually okay, guess what? I got it reflected back from out there. Fascinating.
Ladies and gentlemen, so what I find is, it's fascinating to know that I'm from America and Elizabeth is from England. We basically see this the same way. It's about self-esteem, how you feel about yourself.
Absolutely.
It's the habits that are created in our subconscious as well as our conscious. What men should do and what women should do and what we shouldn't do. And what the habits of the heart is going to do is help you make some of these changes. We find that most people are just striving for a relationship.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's parental, sometimes it's romantic, sometimes it's professional. But you know, the habits of the heart can affect all this. Now, so this Blue River love kind of is the history of how we've been conditioned to think and behave.
The Blue River love is based on fear. Always feels bad, motivates grasping, seizes control, insists on certainty, needs everything.
Oh, I hope I'm not Blue River love. Oh, wow, say those. Blue River love
really is fear driven.
Okay.
This is what they've found from doing these courses for a long time over in the States as well.
Right.
Always feels bad, motivates grasping, seizes control, insists on certainty, and needs everything.
Right, so that's very...
You know, all that yearning, burning, can't live without you, I'll die if you don't call me, all that.
So that's very self-esteem damaging, isn't
Very.
it? So, because it's never about what's good about you, it's about somebody else needs to validate you.
Absolutely. So do you want to hear the good news?
Yeah, I want to hear about Red River love. I need some Red
You
River
want to hear
love.
the good news,
Yes.
right? Always feels good, motivates liberation, relaxes control, accepts uncertainty, needs nothing.
So how do we make this change? How do we move from Blue River
It's about
to Red
opening
River?
your heart, and it's about trusting yourself. It's about trusting your loved, which is one of the practices. And it's about speaking from the heart. Because the gift in this relationship that I was just touching on is that then I actually got on the phone and I said to him, by the way, and I said all that stuff about, I know it's fine if I call you, but I feel you should call me. That you can say that.
Why didn't he call?
Because he just didn't. Because he was busy, and he said, I was going to call you in half an hour. I said, I'm tired, I'm going to bed. No problem. But it's like, there's all these rules, and we made them up. You can do this, you can't do that. You know, if you go home and you don't bring your wife flowers, maybe, I don't know, obviously you're related, but we make everything mean everything. Oh, he didn't bring me flowers, maybe he doesn't really care about me. He didn't pick the dry cleaning up, maybe he doesn't care about me. Maybe he doesn't love me because he would have paid attention, he would have listened, and he forgot. He didn't do it. Because I've got these really fantastic joke ones that are called the guys' rules.
Well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to give the guys rules on our next show. They're going to have to tune back in. Because Elizabeth Green has something more to talk about. She's come from London just to share this information with you. Well, she came for other reasons too, but it's very important that we do some things with habits of the heart. And part of the Feed the World program is to develop the confidence, the self-esteem, the communication skills to obtain what you want in life. And not only obtain, but attain a certain level of self-confidence and self-esteem that allows you to feel worthy, to feel good about yourself. Elizabeth, I think the habits of the heart talk to that, don't they? Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do in our next show, we're going to actually walk through the different options that are available to participate in the habits of the heart, and how this is going to move you from where you think you might be or believe you are to where you might want to be or where you might want to go. And it's a number of ways to move through the process. But it's always good seeing you every Wednesday morning, 8 a.m., Channel 56, Manhattan Neighborhood Network. The Feed the World programs have been developed for the very same reason that the habits of the heart have been developed. That's for you to feel better about yourself and to do the things that make your life full and enriched. So Elizabeth, we're going to continue this next week. Can you give us some more good stuff next week?
Absolutely. And can I just say, the gift of this course is you start from where you are and you get to where you get. There's no goal. You're on your personal journey. It's your journey.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us.